Good evening, Heartland. In Williamson County, a former teacher and football coach is facing charges following sexual abuse allegations involving former students within the Carterville School District. This morning, the Williamson County Sheriff's Office announcing that an arrest has been made. Blake Showalter was in Marion today and has the latest details.
It is a horrible situation, and as law enforcement, it's our objective to ensure that these individuals is held accountable to the fullest extent of the law.
Williamson County Sheriff Jeff Diedrich says at 5:30 last night, officers arrested and charged John Wakey with 9 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse involving minors.
We reached a point where we have 4 individuals that have come forward so far and memorialized. We have additional individuals that we believe are victims and are currently working and talking to us, but are just not yet ready to come fully forward and memorialize that.
Diedrich tells me the victims are former members of the Carterville football team, where John Wakey served as a coach. He adds the accusations stem from 2013 to 2015.
We anticipate that it's likely that additional victims will come forward, and this is a case that we've taken very serious, and we're going to continue to take serious to find justice for these victims, these survivors of horrific acts by individuals who were in a position of trust.
During the press conference, Williamson County State's Attorney Ted Hampson says there are no statutes of limitations for this case and encourages anyone affected to come forward.
These charges have no statute of limitations. There is a portion of the statute that does have a statute of limitation, but criminal sexual abuse does not have a statute of limitation. So if there are people out there who have been a victim in this particular case or other cases, by all means, please come forward.
Sheriff Diedrich tells me the investigation is long from over.
We are deeply concerned that there could be additional victims. We implore the community and parents to talk to your children, your adult children, to make sure that if you're aware of anything that occurred, if you were a victim or have any information about victims, that you please contact the Williamson County Sheriff's Office.
In Williamson County, Blake Showalter, Heartland News.
Sheriff Diedrich is stressing that they do not believe that there are any current students who may be victims. Wakey is due to make his first court appearance on Monday, and we just got into the newsroom a statement from the Carterville School District, and there will be a special school board meeting happening on Tuesday.